Thanks for joining us on Fox College Sports Pacific and Midco Sports Net. The 24 seniors from North Dakota State just getting announced as Craig Bohl will take the rest of his squad onto the field for this regular season finale against the University of South Dakota. There's a look at the 24 seniors, a very special group. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. North Dakota State 10-0 on the season, looking to finish off their first perfect regular season since 1990. Brian Shawn, Kevin Feeney, Lee Timmerman joining you from the Fargo Dome in Fargo, North Dakota, as the Bison get set to host South Dakota. The Yotes coming in at 4-7. Guys, a lot to look forward to here, certainly for North Dakota State with the playoffs right around the corner and a chance to finish off a perfect regular season, something that they can hang their hat on and certainly be proud of here.
Well, Brian, I think that's the biggest thing that NDSU has in its back pocket in this today. This is a team that wants to run the table in the regular season and then hopefully see what happens throughout the playoffs.
And you know what, I think coming into this football game, it goes back to they have something to play for. They want to finish this season undefeated. They're playing a team in South Dakota that they significantly beat thoroughly last year at this time, but it is going to be an emotional night, and you can see it already in Craig Bohl's eyes as they introduce those seniors.
Craig Bohl looking for his 100th win. That's a look at the senior captain Grant Olson, who was lost for the year due to a torn ACL. We will have the kickoff between North Dakota State and the University of South Dakota coming up after this timeout. Stay with us. Kickoff coming up. Take a look at the Sanford Health and Orthopedic Sports Medicine injury report for North Dakota State. Marcus Williams has been nursing a knee problem for the last few weeks. He is a game-time decision, likely not to play, but it is possible. Brendan Pierre is dressed, has a hamstring issue. It's yet to be seen how much he will go today. Andrew Grothman is not in uniform due to a hip pointer. He is expected back in time for the second round of the FCS playoffs coming up in just a couple of weeks. And Pierre G. Tucker actually had surgery on his shoulder this week. He is lost for the senior, the true freshman from the St. Louis area. North Dakota State, again, 10-0 this season, 7-0 in the Valley, looking to finish things off here. A perfect 11-0 in the regular season. They will carry the top seed into the FCS playoffs and get a bye coming up next week before hosting a playoff game here the first weekend in December. Brock Jensen a chance to win his 44th game here at North Dakota State as starting quarterback, which would set an FCS record. What a monstrous significant record that is.
Well, just to take that one step further, when you're talking about victories in this group on senior day, no senior group has won more games in the history of NDSU than this group has. 47 overall wins in their time, 47-7 coming into this game. And I think one thing that was important that Coach Vigen pointed out was that this group, when they were freshmen, were very fortunate to have a senior class then with Matt Grodzik in it, Landon Smith in it, players like that helped kind of, one of the terms anyway, change the culture or to get things on the right path to do what this group and this team has been able to do.
Well, let's take a look at our North Dakota certified seed producer stat report. And it's a pretty significant stat here for Brock and Roll. Brock Jensen, 43 career wins, as we mentioned, 24 touchdown passes, 4 last week at Youngstown, setting an NDSU single-season record, and 62 career touchdown passes, also an NDSU record. That's your stats report brought to you by the North Dakota Certified Seed Producers. The captains for this North Dakota State squad out at midfield. And that will snap an 8 coin toss winning streak for South Dakota. They had won 8 straight coin tosses coming into this game. The Bison do win the toss.
That's kind of a strange stat, but yes, indeed. So that's Joe Glenn, the head coach of the Coyotes, along with Coach Bohl right there.
And both of those guys hailing from the city of Lincoln, Nebraska, growing up there. Joe Glenn in his second season here at the University of South Dakota, also coaching stops at Wyoming, Montana, where he won a national championship, and at Northern Colorado, where he also had a lot of success back in the old North Central Conference days and won two national titles.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of positive things just from talking with people in and around Vermillion this week about what Coach Glenn and his staff have done in the short 2 years that he has been in charge of his alma mater, and I think that was one of the bigger things too, and one of the things that I think that drives Coach Glenn right now. Does he have to coach? No. Does he want to coach? Yes. And if he wants to coach, he's really loving doing it right now at his alma mater.
Kevin, you used to know a guy named Joe Glenn back when he was coaching the good old days in Northern Colorado. What can you tell us about Coach Glenn?
Well, you know what, going back to those Northern Colorado days, number one, you always knew that they had phenomenal athletes. And really what came down to is Coach Glenn got those phenomenal athletes to start playing together as a team. And all that did was provide, like, unfortunately for my sake, and North Dakota State's Bison time, was he ended up going on to winning 2 national championships, going on to the success that he had at Montana. You know, things didn't necessarily work out at Wyoming, but what a great opportunity for him to come home to his alma mater and get a chance to kind of fix the program. I had an opportunity to watch South Dakota the year prior to Joe Glenn coming there, and in no disrespect, they didn't look like the South Dakota teams in the past. And like you said, in a short period of time, he's made this team very, very respectable. And I think if you listen to a lot of the people out there, they feel like it's a team on the rise that's very capable of doing some great things in the next couple of years.
Ben LeCompte on to boot away a Peterson Farm Seed kickoff. Kick off your planting season with Peterson Farm Seed. Aaron Swift, Dylan Knox, both back to receive for South Dakota. And it's Knox at his own goal line. Cuts it outside of the 15 to the 20. And he's still on his feet to the 30-yard line, and he'll go down there, and that's where the Coyotes will have their opening possession of the ball game. The Coyotes, the top passing offense in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. There is a look at Kevin Earl, the sophomore from Lincolnshire, Illinois, completing 54% of his passes. He has 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions this season. He did throw for 325 and lost against South Dakota State last week.
Did not become the starter until 4 games into the season.
And the starter at that time was Josh Vandermotten, who is now a receiver. Play action to start off. Ooh, that is across the middle and knocked away, as that was Vandermotten, who was the intended target from Earl, incomplete. 2nd and 10. Here's a look at your Shield starting lineup for that North Dakota State defense. The front 4 has been very good. They're also very deep. Levon Perry really coming on here in the second half of the season. Carlton Littlejohn in at the Mike spot for Grant Olson. And the 2 safeties, Dudzik and Hegel, having tremendous seasons as well. This Bison defense only giving up about 12 points a game. The carry there, and there's some room. First down carry up to the 42-yard line is Jordan Roberts, a redshirt freshman from Sheridan, Wyoming. And these running backs, guys, as we mentioned, pretty beat up coming into this game as we look at our Shield starting lineup for this South Dakota offense. Offensive line anchored by Cody O'Neill, the senior in the middle. Trevor Bama, we're not sure how much we will see him or Roberts today. They're both nursing injuries. We mentioned that Drew Potter is the fullback. Play action, Earl, time, slings it out, and too high for Terrence Terry, the intended target at the 42-yard line of North Dakota State. Will bring up 2nd and 10.
Terry was the primary receiver, primary target last week in that game against the Jackrabbits. He had 9 catches in that contest, had 115 yards as well. I mean, the Jacks were really worried about Donovan, the freshman, getting deep, and Terry was able to find things open last week.
Terry, a high school teammate of Bison running back Sam O'Jury back in Barrington, Illinois. Handoff goes inside. It's again Roberts. This time not as much room, maybe 3 up to the 45. Carlton Littlejohn in on the stop. Talking to Chris Kleiman last week, guys, he really mentioned how well he thought Carlton Littlejohn did in the middle, especially with all the checks in the middle with that position.
He's also getting help in those checks. Grant Olson basically did it all by himself. But Hegel and Shepard and Dudzik, the safeties, are also helping Littlejohn in doing some of that too. And Coach Kleiman said sometimes whoever sees it first will yell it out. But yes, he's the primary role in reading it defensively.
Bison faithful on their feet on 3rd and 7. And I think a false start penalty coming up on Terrence Terry will make it a 3rd and 12.
5-yard penalty.
But just following up what you talked about, when you have a guy like Grant Olson who's been expected to make all those checks, and you hear this slogan all the time, we all need to step up, we all need to step up. And that's kind of what you're getting at right there. You got kind of a collective group that's played a lot of football that recognizes things very quickly. You get Carlton Littlejohn where those calls necessarily aren't so ingrained in his head yet, trying that Mike spot. He might need somebody else to see those checks so that he can do his job and do it very well.
3rd and long coming up. The volume has risen here in the Fargo Dome. Earl drops back in the flat, complete to his tight end Wilhelm. And Tyler Wilhelm is about 4 yards short of a first down to the Bison 48. Will bring up a punting situation for the Oats.
Wilhelm has not been 100% either for USD. He's kind of had a nagging ankle injury. They tried to get it out to him in the flat, but he couldn't break the tackle. Prior to that snap, we saw what we were talking a little bit about there, Kevin, because Colton Hegel came up right to Kyle Emanuel, gave him a quick little check, a little tap, said, look for this.
Miles Bergner puts the toe to it, and this one will go into the end zone for a touchback, and the Bison will have their first possession at the 20. We mentioned the special teams units, LT, for South Dakota have all sorts of issues. This is actually their 4th long snapper they're on this season. They've given up some big plays on punt returns, kickoff returns, and certainly had their issues punting the football.
If you ask the peoples that we did anyway, surrounding the Coyotes football team, you go, boy, you sure look better than your record. Why? And they'll say penalties. We saw Terry have a penalty there to help stall a drive. And then what you're talking about, special teams has been really, really bad at times this year for USD. The Coyotes have gotten it down a lot better the last half than they did the first half.
Brock Jensen taking the field. 24 touchdown passes, just 5 interceptions here in his senior season. Sam O'Jury, little read option look, and O'Jury scoots ahead. Still on his feet up to the 26-yard line. Nice pickup on first down. Take a look at our Shield starting lineups for that Bison offense, and it's been a very good offense, averaging about 37 points per game. A big reason why are those guys up front. Done a tremendous job opening holes for the running game and protecting Jensen. Kevin Bottling, 2 touchdown receptions last week, and Sam O'Jury approaching that 1,000-yard mark here this season. 2nd and 4 from the 26. Back to O'Jury in the running game. Sam scoots through a little crease, picks up 3 up to the 29, will bring up 3rd and short. Shield starting lineups for that South Dakota defense. It is a 3-4, anchored by Emilios Davis as the senior defensive lineman in that group. Tyler Starr, a tremendous talent at outside linebacker. 9 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. And in the secondary, Aaron Swift, 50 tackles on the season and a sack with 2 interceptions. He's played 40-plus games in his career at South Dakota.
The linebackers, the best position group.
And O'Jury needed one, and he did not get it. He has stood up on 3rd and short, and the Bison 3 and out on their first possession. Is Starr in on the stop.
Yep, number 11 Starr right there. Just about every NFL team has been to Vermillion to help to look at this guy. So he's got the talent, the size, the build. And there's a reason when you have his athletic abilities that they, meaning the NFL, are looking at him.
One key point to this play, watch him come underneath right there. You didn't get to quite see it on the finish of that replay, but he wrong-armed it. He came underneath it, made it bounce, and they spilled it right to that outside linebacker to get the tackle for a loss.
Take a quick timeout here on NBC North Dakota Sports, Fox College Sports, and Midco Sportsnet. We're scoreless from the Fargo Dome. Today's game from the Fargo Dome brought to you in high definition by the North Dakota Corn Growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. Jordan Roberts, his 3rd carry, goes for 2 up to the 21. Brian Schatz in on the stop from his nose guard spot.
Well, the Coyotes really want to try and establish something on the ground. When they have been at their best this year, it's been a run-pass mix. Because of the injuries to the linebackers last week against South Dakota State, there was no running option, and the Jacks kind of teed off a little bit on Earl in the passing game, trying to go at him. But you will see the Coyotes want to get something done on the ground.
2nd and 8 from the 21. Earl rolls right, fires across the middle and finds Terry. Terry's got a first down up to the 35-yard line. Pickup of 13 for the Oats.
First series of the game, you saw them, the Coyotes, they were really kind of stationary back there. They moved the launch point. I thought Terry did a real nice job of sitting down in the hole. quarterback is rolling out to his right. He did a nice job of coming back to his left so that he didn't have to throw across his body. He did a nice job there after the catch on getting some yards.
As big as Earl is, he does throw well on the move.
Roberts gets the call. Runs over Esley Thornton, picks up about 2 yards up to the 37.
But here's a little thing about the linebacker position. This is something that Thornton had to learn. He didn't know how to do that. If we could get it on the repeat, see how he put his foot down, kept his outside leverage, forced it back in. So, you know, he might have got hit, he might have gave up a couple of yards, but he didn't give up the outside, and that was the important part.
And South Dakota State going with a no huddle here. Quickly back to Roberts. And Carlton Littlejohn makes the tackle there at the 43. Pick up of 5 more. We'll bring up 3rd and short.
Better say you're sorry, Brian.
What did I say?
You said South Dakota State.
Oh boy. I'm gonna catch some flack from the Yote faithful down in Vermilion.
You just made friends down in Vermilion.
My apologies to everybody in South
Okay.
Dakota. University of South Dakota, the Coyotes. I knew I was going to do that at least once today.
Well, you got it out of the way. I like how you.
Yeah, let's make the mistake early. Play action. Earl across the middle has a receiver, and it's just off the hands of Josh Vandermotten. Would have been enough for a first down. Instead, South Dakota will be forced into another punting situation.
Well, you talk about the transition from Vandermotten, that quarterback, to Earl, and one of the things that everyone down at USD said made it so easy is that Vandermotten was like, hey, no problem, I'll do whatever's best for the team. He's a real good athlete anyway, a running style quarterback, and so he, you know, embraced it.
Bergner to Ryan Smith at his own 12, and Smith has a lane to the 40, the 45, and North Dakota State good field position thanks to another Ryan Smith punt return, who has not been back there here for a few weeks as he deals with a high ankle sprain. 8:22 to go in the first quarter. We're scoreless from the Fargo Dome on the Ag Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard as Ryan Smith sets up the Bison on a short field. For all the latest on NDSU athletics, remember to visit www.gobison.com. Scoreless here at the Fargo Dome. The Bison their second possession of the game at the 45. Play action for Jensen Starr. Almost got there. Jensen steps up looking for Zach Bra. Touchdown, North Dakota State. .55 yards as Gra makes his 10th touchdown reception of the season.
You can see right there, South Dakota make their checks, a balanced formation. Bison have been heavy run, play calling the last few weeks in that formation. Play action pass, they got him in that man coverage. Zach Gra has been hitting downfield pretty well the last few weeks.
It has been an issue this year with this Coyote defense, giving up big plays through the air, and there was another one from Bra who just keeps getting it done.
Pass called incomplete by the officials in the end zone. And boy, I must have missed something, guys. I thought that was an easy pitch and catch. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay will give us a good look at it. Let's take a look here.
That's a touchdown, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to say it looked like a touchdown to me.
If the ball is caught in the field of play, as long as he's
has possession,
crossing the goal line, right?
Once it crosses the goal line, that is a touchdown.
And Jensen having a chat with the official, and Craig Bull is not happy about that, and to me, that is a touchdown. Big break for South Dakota.
The old, once you break the plane, anything that happens after that is irrelevant if you establish that you have control of the ball, and it certainly looked like he did.
So instead of a touchdown for Vra, it's 2nd and 10 from their own 45. Smith, the motion man. The give goes to John Crockett. And John Crockett, his first carry of the afternoon, goes for 10 yards inside state South Dakota territory down to the 45. And the fans still aren't happy about that call. Take another look on the Nodak Mutual Insurance replay, guys. Boy, I don't even know how you don't call that a touchdown.
I guess from my perspective on it, obviously I feel it is a touchdown, but if they were to say that that ball came out, it almost should have been a touchback after it rolled out of the end zone.
Because he had possession going in.
Because he had possession at about the 4 or 5 yard line.
And Jensen under pressure, dropped by Emilios Davis, back at the 50.
If Tyler Starr gets a half a sack on that, he has just become the all-time sack leader.
We'll have to check the statistics on that. Davis the first one there. But Starr also beat Billy Turner. So we'll see how they score it. But yes, Tyler Starr, with any sort of sack, whether it's a half sack or full sack, becomes the all-time leader in South Dakota history for sacks throughout a career.
Leads the conference in that department this year.
2nd and 15 from midfield. Crockett gets the carry, and he is dropped for another loss. Back to the 46 will bring up 3rd and 19. Nick Jacobs was the one creating some penetration there into the backfield.
Boy, he just exploded through the gap and got there quickly. And Johnson went to try to reach, get in front of him, and there's no way he could.
The South Dakota defense, as you mentioned, LT, 35 sacks as a group, leads the Valley and is 6th in the country. Jensen will drop again, step up, fires across the middle, and he finds Ryan Smith. Snuck it into Smith, who has enough for a first down to the USD 28.
I thought Jensen in the Youngstown game, just from watching it on TV, and here you see his feet, he looks so comfortable in the pocket. He was that way at Youngstown, and he was able to just get a plant and a nice throw here. But he just looks comfortable.
He does. He did a nice job stepping up there. It's going to be a great matchup today watching Starr versus Billy Turner. I tell you what, you saw it right there. Billy Turner almost looked like he was going to give up the edge right there. He got just enough of Starr so that Brock could step up and fire that ball to Ryan Smith.
Ryan Hillier made the tackle inside South Dakota territory with the Bison a fresh set of downs to start things off here at the 28. And it's John Crockett bouncing outside. Crockett inside the 10. Touchdown, North Dakota State.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
It's a little outside sweep right here. Take a look at that. Andrew Bonnet filling in for Andrew Grothman. Looks pretty similar. The result, D-back on the ground. Watch it right
Zach
here, number
Johnson
46.
Makes a real nice cut. And Johnson got up slow too, by the way. But in the game last year down in Sioux Falls, what was the major thing that NDSU was able to do? Big plays. They got 10 plays over 15 yards. We just saw 2 plays over 15 yards in this particular drive. And the one that didn't count, the touchdown.
So one touchdown taken off the board, but John Crockett able to cash in for the opening touchdown here in the game from 28 yards. And North Dakota State has taken a 7-0 lead on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. (7-0) North Dakota State on a 28-yard touchdown run by John Crockett. The Bison lead it 7-0 here in their final regular season home game of the season. Ben Lecomte off to boot away another Peterson Farm Seed kickoff. Kick off your planting season with Peterson Farm Seed. Aaron Swift from his own 7. Cuts it up the middle and taken down there by Nick DeLuca, the true freshman from Omaha. Missed a couple of weeks with a knee problem and making a nice play on special teams right there. Earl will bring up South Dakota for their 3rd possession of the game.
For those in and around the USD program, they know this, but those that don't might not know that his dad was an NFL player. Remember a guy by the name of Walter Payton? Well, his fullback was for 3 or 4 years, was Robin Earl, was the lead blocking back for the Chicago Bears. A little football in his blood, huh?
Play action again for Earl. He launches deep, and this one is almost intercepted by C.J. Smith, the intended target, Riley Donovan, the true freshman from Casson, Minnesota. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay right at you, and you got a chance to see Kevin Earl's big arm right there.
No real surprise, though, that when the Yotes are trying to go downfield, they're trying to go downfield to the freshman Donovan.
Has redshirt pulled just a few games into the season.
At game 4, I thought it was. He has 26 catches.
553 yards and 2 touchdowns. Roberts gets the call, sneaks through a hole. Travis Beck, Carlton Littlejohn on to make the stop at the 28. Will bring up 3rd and 4.
You know, one thing to look at right there I thought was interesting. You got a 2nd down and 10. Not typically a time to see nickel package. Right there you saw the Bison playing nickel. You don't know if that's because of the scouting report or if you don't know if that's because of they're trying to develop some depth at linebacker just in case for those situations coming down the road throughout the playoffs.
The crowd comes to their feet on 3rd and 4 from the 28. Earl across the middle. Incomplete, looking for Vandermotten. And South Dakota once again will have to punt it away.
But Colton Hegel playing man up was right in his hip, and then also at the point of the pass got some help. This one did not look like it was going to be completed from the get-go. Travis Beck right there as well.
Zach Johnson, we're told, nicked up his shoulder a little bit, but will be back into the ball game here coming up.
Yeah, he threw an important block.
And almost a blocked punt there on Bergner, who shanked one away. Takes a South Dakota hop, USD hop, to the 35-yard line. That's where North Dakota State will have it, leading 7-0.
I thought that was a big 3rd down play for really both teams. For the Coyotes offense, well, they put your defense right back out there right after a series of big plays. And for NDSU now, your defense gets off the field. Your offense just marched it down, scored, got the lead, and now you get the ball back again in pretty good field position.
I thought coming into this football game it was going to be interesting to see how aggressive the Bison offense was going to be early. Certainly everybody here was wondering, guys like Marcus Williams, are they going to play? Are they not going to play? And certainly Zach Johnson getting a little bit nicked up kind of gets you leery of saying, you know what, we need to get out of this game healthy, which means we need to get this scoreboard flipped early if we would like to get those guys out of the game.
Jensen going deep for Ryan Smith. He is open inside the 10. Touchdown, North Dakota State.
See the aggressiveness.
All you had to do was count the box, though, Kevin. Nodak Mutual Insurance, there were 8 guys in it. That means you check to your pass play, let Smith run free, and off he goes.
65 yards on the pitch and catch as Ryan Smith scores his 5th touchdown of the season.
And I think Ryan's, only 2 more catches now from becoming 4th all-time, so you can tell throughout the years, it's his senior day as well, what he's meant to this team. But the DBs now giving up big chunks of yardage.
Keller adds the extra point. North Dakota State quickly has jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
Well, Coach Vegan told me when we talked earlier this week that he thought that the Coyotes would have to commit so many people to try to stop the run that play action would be what would work or what they'd have to try early. Well, we're seeing it here. Smith with his 2nd big catch. That touchdown catch provides points, but that 3rd down catch in the last drive just as big as that one.
So Brock Jensen off to a good start, 2 of 3 for 89 yards and a touchdown.
And it's really been the way, Well, at least in about the last month or so, wouldn't you say, guys, that with the way NDSU has won its games, a lot of the way, got points through the air and then started pounding. And it appears that that formula may have a chance to play itself out again.
Two very quick scoring possessions in their last two drives for NDSU, and the Yotes find themselves down 14 in the blink of an eye as Ben Lecomte gets set to boot another one away.
Both possessions starting in a positive area for the Bison. Both times special team errors by South Dakota has caused the Bison to get short fields and able to get quick touchdowns off those big plays.
Knox, 2 yards deep, will take a knee, and the Coyotes will start this drive at their own 25.
Well, now how patient will USD try to be to keep the ball on the ground and establish some things on the ground? The lack of the running game last week really hurt them.
Last week, Vandermotten, who's a former quarterback turned wide receiver, was actually the starting tailback as you take a look at Joe Glenn. And Roberts has pretty much exclusively been the tailback today. We thought we might see Trevor Bama, the other redshirt freshman from Lamar's, Iowa.
And Roberts is mostly straight ahead because of that issue he's had with his ankle.
Nice hole there for Roberts as he blows right by one tackler and picks up 15 yards up to the 40.
Well, that was well done up front. That was a massive hole right up the middle.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
Oh, he caught the stunt. They're trying to jump two gaps, aren't they? Almost, it looked like.
Jordan Champion in on that tackle for NDSU. Earl will throw this time. Flushed out of the pocket, will take off with it. And he dives ahead to the 41. Carlton Littlejohn came up to make the stop there. Will bring up 2nd and 9.
I like how aggressive right now on the outside that NDSU is being with the receivers. They're getting up right in their face and almost getting a jam and trying not to allow a free release off that line of scrimmage.
Single setback again is Roberts on 2nd and 9. This one fired out to Terrence Terry. Scampers out of bounds after picking up about 7. 3rd and short coming up at the 48.
Kind of looked like Dudzik couldn't decide which angle he thought was best. Ended up trailing the play, and the Coyotes were able to get around the corner.
Nice patience by the Coyote offense right there, getting into the check. You can see the Bison got back down in the box. We're going to bring in man-to-man coverage. Nice, easy pitch and catch. Great block on the outside by the wide receiver.
Important 3rd downs, though, especially for the Coyotes. It's going to be a long day if they can't pick up 1st downs.
South Dakota 0 for 3 on 3rd down. Make it 0 of 4. Levon Perry blew that thing up in the backfield, and he lost 2.
Number one thing that kills offensive drives is penetration. Right there, Levon Perry gets a great pad level right underneath, creates pressure, and all of a sudden all those linebackers are coming free untouched also.
Little holding going on with Perry there after the play, and then Perry kind of shoved a little hand in there. I thought he was real close to maybe he, meaning Perry, picking up a 15-yarder there.
Whitehead gave him a pretty good stare down as he went away.
Bergner lays one up nice and high. Ryan Smith calls for the fair catch at his own 16. And North Dakota State, leading 14-0, will bring the offense back out on the field and try to add to it. Let's take a look at our North Dakota soybean trivia question. How many gallons of soy diesel can be produced from 1 acre of soybeans? Your answer coming up. Jensen now 25 touchdown passes in his senior campaign, 63 for his career. And with a win here today, we'll pass Armonte Edwards for most wins as a quarterback at the FCS level.
Well, we've seen the Bison be able to get the ball downfield passing-wise. Throughout the course of the year, USD's been pretty good with putting pressure on the quarterback. That has masked some of that. So if Jensen has time, they're going to burn him.
And Kevin Bottlein wide open. Bottlein, the senior from Park Rapids, makes his first catch. Pick up about 14 yards up to the 35.
Exactly what I was talking about. Jensen, if he's going to have time, the Coyotes are in trouble.
Bottlein, a breakout game. 2 touchdown receptions last week at Youngstown.
You saw a double team on the right side of your screen there too. Turner had some help that time blocking Starr.
Amazing how quiet it gets in the Fargo Dome when the Bison offense has the football. It goes to Sam O'Jury, not much there. As South Dakota came blowing through. Good penetration, picked up about 1. Here's the answer to your North Dakota Soybean Council trivia question. How many gallons of soy diesel can be produced from 1 acre of soybeans? The answer, 50. 50 gallons. A trivia question brought to you by the North Dakota Soybean Council. 1:35 to go here in the first quarter. Bison trips receivers to the bottom side of your screen on 2nd and 9. Coyotes bring a little bit of pressure. Jensen fires in the flat there to Ryan Smith, and Smith scoots ahead up to the 45, enough for a first down.
Well, one of the things that Jason Petrino, the defensive coordinator for USD, was worried about was all the formations that North Dakota State is using this year, and then how do you try to prepare for all of those? And once again, the Bison giving this Coyote defense a number of different looks. That time it was trips to the field side.
Tyler Starr. O'Jury ran right into a tackle. I believe that was Kyle Guziak coming up to make the stop.
And one of the inside linebackers. Guziak earlier this year had a pick 6.
The South Dakota defense very good early in the season. Then all of a sudden it was the offense carrying them later in the season, and some near losses. All of them mostly coming at home. Had a chance to beat Montana late in the game, had a chance to beat Youngstown late in the game, and could not find a way to win either one. Jensen on first down will fire out to Andrew Bonnet. And Bonnet, also a big game last week against Youngstown, caught a touchdown pass. Picks up 5 here up to the 50.
Well, if you take a look at the Coyotes, the schedule and the results, it's real interesting because they opened with a win, then 3 losses, then 3 wins, and now they're on a string of losses.
North Dakota State leading 14-0. They got the ball in midfield with a 3rd and 5 coming up when we come back to the Fargo Dome. It's 14-0 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. Today's game brought to you in high definition by the North Dakota Corn Growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. And you had a chance to look inside our HD truck here at the Fargo Dome. Thanks to all our crew members this season, all the great work they've done behind the scenes. Sam O'Jury makes the catch. Little swing out pass there from Brock Jensen, and O'Jury's got 9 up to the 41. Good enough for a Bison first down. Buscarini made the tackle.
Just a load of room to run after the catch. He needs to pick up 5 yards and relatively easy. But you've also had Vra and Smith on this near side, and if you're USD, who's just burning you deep, so you're really concentrating on those guys and giving up the underneath as you have to.
They clock at 1. Jensen does get it off, gives it up to O'Jury, and O'Jury taken down. Nice tackle by Kian Lagi coming from the weak side for a gain of 1.
That's a young man the Coyotes like a lot. He's made some big plays. He's had a couple of interceptions as well. He's a true sophomore, comes out of Sioux Falls, plays the opposite side of Starr, so a lot of teams have run away from Starr, but into this young man who has also gotten very good. I mean, he's a guy they like a lot, and Starr's not going to be there next year. He will take over and be the leader of the Coyotes defense next year.
Loggy, a great career at Washington High School down in Sioux Falls. Jensen flips it out to Zach Vra on the little slant pattern, picks up about 8, a yard short of a first down. Talking to Brent Vegan this week, guys, I said, you know, you're probably throwing the ball as well as you have since maybe Steve Walker was here. And he said yes, and he goes, I feel like we're running the ball as well as we ever have, which I thought was a pretty good indicator of just how well this offense is clicking. And one thing I know Vegan also mentioned is just that we're so much more consistent. We're not going through a roller coaster in a game where we pretty much kept it on the track pretty even all season long. Another third down coming up. Jensen play action. Looking for Bonnet, who fell down on the play. It drops incomplete. So North Dakota State now here will likely try a field goal attempt for Adam Keller. Will be about a 48-yard attempt.
I don't think I've seen that play or that combination of the two guys since the touchdown down here against, I think it was Illinois State, with Bonnet and the tight end running kind of a deep cross.
This will be a 49-yard field goal attempt by number 17.
49-yard field goal attempt coming up here for Keller, who is 5 of 8 this season with a long of 41. And it's a fake to Littlejohn, and that didn't work. South Dakota snuffed it out. And it'll be a turnover on downs for NDSU.
Yeah, Dylan Knox was all over it. He did not allow Littlejohn. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Here comes Carlton. Littlejohn picks it up. Knox sniffs it out.
Knox makes the tackle, and a little bit of trickery there for NDSU as we take a look at Brent Vegan. He's got a little smile on his face there.
Worth a try.
You know what, and all it does is you're kind of trying to put the dagger in here to the Coyotes early on in this football game. But number two, you're also showing a lot of things on film for future opponents that are going to have to prepare for other stuff other than the offense and the defense.
Play action again as Earl hangs in the pocket and fires downfield, and it is intercepted by Littlejohn at the 20.
So you talk about some of the things that Littlejohn has had to learn as from being a middle linebacker in a Tampa 2. This is it. You got to play that deep middle at a linebacker spot.
Well, I tell you what,
that's depth.
I was just going to say no disrespect whatsoever to Grant Olson.
Yeah, he can't
but
make that
that's
play.
what Carlton Littlejohn brings to that Mike position. And that's the type of stuff that they want to see on Sundays. And then talking to a lot of people around here saying Carlton Littlejohn is a potential Sunday football player. Playing the Mike position is only going to raise that stock. And tell you what, when NFL scouts watch that on film, that's impressive. 30 yards downfield from where that snap started.
That's what Joe Mays did for quite a few, did well here for quite a few years. And where's he? On Sundays.
And Littlejohn, that's his first interception of the season as John Crockett gets the carry and picks up 7 to the 27.
But Kevin, that goes back though to the things that he had to learn or relearn or emphasize more, moving from the position he was so comfortable with into playing that middle. It's two totally different animals, isn't it?
It is, and you know what? He's doing an outstanding job, as you can obviously see, just with the production he's had in the run game, but also, like I said, you don't see guys that can cover that much ground in this level of football.
Five on the play clock. Jensen will bring it all the way down, take the snap, hesitates, then throws it up, looking for Vra, and this one is intercepted. And I think Vra wanted a penalty for holding, but instead the interception by Devin Taverna, his 3rd of the season. And that one floated a little bit on Brock.
Once he hitched it, then tried to get it that deep downfield, and there was somebody coming on his legs, it's tough to get the ball that deep.
Frank Bull.
Something positive for the Coyotes. You know what? You see a lot of things in the pre-snap movement, and we've talked a little bit throughout this game on they lead the league in sacks. Well, they lead the league in sacks, but they're also giving up a lot of big plays, and that kind of goes hand in hand. And right there, chalking up for the Coyotes on making a play in that defensive secondary, which they haven't to this point.
So 2 plays after the Littlejohn interception, Taverna gets it right back for South Dakota. And again, it's Jordan Roberts on the carry. Picks up 1 up to the 41.
In talking about Bama, who hasn't been in the game, and Roberts this week with Coach Kleiman, he said, he goes, in practice, we see that every day from a kid called Chase Morlock. These guys are similar types of runners, and so the way Morlock's a downhill type of guy, goes straight at you. He said Morlock has helped us get ready for these backs that USD has.
Bison bring pressure. Earl floats it out looking for Donovan, and this one off his hand and incomplete. Will bring up 3rd and long.
Bison defensive line gets just a little bit of pressure, causes the quarterback to float the football because he couldn't step in and drive over his front foot. Just see how his weight was back. When your shoulders get upward, that ball's going to sail on you every time, and it comes from the interior pressure from that defensive tackle.
Yeah, your release point off your hand is just a little bit too far back.
South Dakota 0 of 4 on 3rd down today. Earl fires to a wide open receiver. Catch made by Nick Meyer. His 21st reception of the season is enough for a South Dakota 1st down inside Bison territory to the 47.
Coyotes guessed right on that one. They were expecting man coverage. That's why the formation that you saw a bunch look, you saw stacked receivers. Bison got a little bit crossed up on the rub route, created a wide open Coyote receiver.
So South Dakota converts its first 3rd down of the day and are inside Bison territory here. Back to the ground game. It's Roberts. Nice pickup on 1st down there. He has another 1st down to the 36. Gain of 11.
I think Travis Beck will be a little upset with himself on this one. He's engaged with see him come in to double against one of the offensive linemen. Forgot to look to see where the back was.
Brian Shepard in on the tackle.
It's kind of a strange way to play that.
Earl looking for Vandermaden, and that one not in the vicinity. Incomplete. Will bring up 2nd and 10. CJ Smith, as you see there in the coverage.
Well, that was more to do with what happened up front than what Smith did. That play just did not have a chance to develop because Earl had to get rid of it because the Bison were coming right up the gut.
CJ Smith, the guy that seems to get better and better every week. Maybe played his best game last week at Youngstown.
That's tough on a quarterback when you smash the front of the pocket that fast.
Quick flip out into the flat. Finds Terry. CJ Smith there. Takes him down after a gain of 2.
You know, the way Champion and Smith have been playing on the outsides right there, that gives you that luxury of sitting a guy like Marcus Williams when he's not 100%. Coming into this football game, if you didn't feel real comfortable with Champion, you might see Marcus Williams out there, and all you're doing is maybe hindering the chances of him being healthy throughout the playoffs. So those two guys get valuable experience in playing great football for the North Dakota State defense.
The whole thing for Champion, too, when he was able to get that big, heavy knee brace off, his confidence and his ability came up, and his play has gone up as well.
Hey, little guys don't like to have stuff that hinder the speed.
3rd and 8. Earl under pressure, and down he goes, back at the 40.
Jurek off the edge.
Jurek was the one that forced Earl up, then it almost looked like he tripped. So credit Jurek with the sack. Just his 2nd of the season. Of course, Cole been dealing with some shoulder problems this season.
That has to be a nightmare for opposing offensive line coaches. What do you do with the rush defensive ends that NDSU throws at you? I mean, it's tough.
Bergner on for another punt, trying to pin the Bison deep. Ryan Smith back. This one bounces at the 7 and then takes a sideways hop down to about the 4-yard line. So good job on special teams there for South Dakota, driving the Bison back, but the Yotes trail by 14 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. Let's take a look at our Bobcat game recap. making every play count. North Dakota State over 2 times the amount of yards per play as South Dakota so far here today. Bison backed up here to their own 5-yard line. Crockett gets the carry, and he's taken down, O'Jury on the carry. Sam O'Jury got 1 up to the 6.
During the timeout, we did check, and according to the live stats that we looked at, Starr was not credited with a half a sack, so he still needs a sack to become USD's all-time sack leader, and that's the guy we're talking about right there.
Tyler Starr not much of a factor last week in the loss at South Dakota State. USD a chance to win that game late, then a pick 6, and all that went downhill. Jensen steps up and fires to Ryan Smith, and Smith makes another catch up to the 18-yard line, good enough for a first down.
Okay, Smith runs a 13-yard out, and he still had about a 7-yard cushion. I mean, that's how soft right now they played Smith on that particular out pattern.
Dylan Knox in on the coverage there. Knox coming up with that interception on the last Bison possession. Smith really not expected to play last week, but he still made the start, was very effective, had 5 catches against the Penguins in a 35-17 victory out in Youngstown. Quick toss to Gebhardt. And Gebhardt taken down by Knox on the face mask and add 15 to the 8-yard gain. Gebhardt, a Sioux Falls product.
Personal foul, face mask. Number 1 on the defense. 15 yards from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
That'll take the ball all the way out to the 42-yard line.
Boy, everything he did to try to bring him down was up around the head. Dangerous. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
Andrew Bonnet now coming into the backfield. Jensen will go play action. Has time, steps up to Ryan Smith. And the senior from Wahpeton could not hang on to it. Nice job defensively there by Aaron Swift, breaking that one up downfield.
We did a great job of separating him from the ball. Swift making his 43rd start for USD.
A look at Aaron Swift from Wichita, Kansas, Aurora, Colorado. 2 interceptions this season. O'Jury stays on his feet. Oh, some fancy footwork by Sam O'Jury as he picks up a first down in South Dakota territory, down to the 41.
I don't know how many times you can say that's a pretty run, but that was a pretty run.
Biggest run of the day for O'Jury as we take a look in the Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
Nice job of keeping his hips and shoulders square. That's one thing young running backs, as you're watching this right here, as he's making these cuts, notice his hips and shoulders, though, are always pointed towards the end zone. Key point for the running backs to be successful.
Zach Johnson got up a little slow again after that one. He's kind of nursing that shoulder, but still in there.
O'Jury gets the call again. Another crease, and O'Jury into the clear. Got to the 30, stutter stepped, and takes it down to the 21-yard line. So a couple of big runs here for O'Jury on this drive, and the Bison trying to inch closer to that red zone and punch in another touchdown.
Well, I asked Coach Vegan, we talked about the A-gap power and the power play, and especially that A-gap, and why it's so important and why he likes to use it so much. It's really tough to defend, but it allows the Bison to play fast. He says you just play faster in a power scheme than when you're zone blocking. He thinks it fits his offensive line, and it fits the backs like O'Jury so much better. Really tough to defend.
Well, it's more of a gap scheme, so you get to be more physical as an offensive lineman. In zone scheme, sometimes you get to be very lateral. Offensive linemen want to come downhill if possible.
And on the flip side of that, I talked with Coach Petrino, the defensive coordinator with the Coyotes. Tell me about A-gap power and why it's so hard to stop. He said from a defensive standpoint, you need 3 guys to do exactly the right thing at the right time in a small amount of space in that A-gap. And if even you're a half a body off on one of your leverage points, your offense has you. That's why it's tough.
The Bison in the Superior Inc. red zone, where they're cashing in almost 70% of the time on touchdowns. As we take a look at some of their numbers, 33 touchdowns in the red zone out of 38 possessions so far this season. 2nd and 7 coming up after the 3-yard O'Jury run. And Zach Fra was looking for the hook and ladder with Billy Turner. And that is a play the Bison were practicing this week.
Those type of plays may only happen on senior day.
I don't know when else you would use it.
Hey, Billy Turner's probably been working on that for multiple years.
Yeah, for years.
There was
to
his
talk him into it.
chance.
Yep.
There was his chance. He's going to blame that on Zach Fra that the pitch was poor.
Actually, the corner had Bra wrapped up pretty good and was pushing Bra backwards. But boy, you could tell that Bra really wanted to get the ball to the big offensive lineman.
Hey, just think of all those offensive tackles now around the country that are watching this game that are going to start showing their high school coaches and college coaches.
Jensen fires to the end zone, lays it up for Fra. Touchdown, North Dakota State. Pretty pass. 18 yards for the touchdown.
Not going to count. There was a hold. I saw a hold anyway. And there's a flag down.
Holding, offense, number 59. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains 3rd down.
So that's the 2nd time Zach Fra's had a touchdown taken away. Joe Hegg whistled for the penalty.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Haig is on star. They moved him to the other side, meaning star, to try to see if he can get some pressure. And Haig got his hands up.
Boy, pretty pass though by Brock Jensen, dropping that right in there.
The same two will go at it again.
So 3rd and 17 coming up now from the 28. South Dakota brings a little extra pressure, and Jensen's going to take off with it. Has O'Jury in front blocking, and Jensen inside the 10, down to the 4-yard line. He picked up a 1st down with his legs. 24 yards on the carry for Brock Jensen.
See this all the time. You get man coverage, downfield, they bring pressure off the edge. There's nobody accounting for the quarterback. Brock Jensen always does a great job anytime you get inside that 20-yard line, gets a great nose for the end zone.
I think Jensen does a pretty good job, too, of staying patient in the run game as well. He's looking for that one extra block.
Jensen coming into the game with 5 rushing touchdowns and 250 yards on the ground. 1st and goal at the 4. O'Jury up the middle, and he is just short of the goal line, down to the 1.
Talked about it in the pregame. I have a good feeling Sam O'Jury is going to get this football again. They want to get Sam in the end zone for 2 reasons. Number 1, he has had a few games where he hasn't had a rushing touchdown. And number 2, senior day, you want to get these guys as many as you possibly can.
O'Jury passing Tony Satter, I believe. Now over 50 yards rushing on the day. For 6th all time on the Bison list.
Once again, another wrinkle, flipping over in a pre-snap movement a lot by Coach Vegan.
Jensen, play action, has some time. Now fires into the end zone, and this one incomplete. Intended target was Kevin Bodlin. Kian Lagi.
Well, he's looking for Nelson first, and he's guarded very well at the back of the end zone. And then Lagi just stays with Bodlin on the backside.
Austin Johnson, the one applying the pressure there. Jensen had to get rid of that football.
Loggy did have an interception against South Dakota State last week. And a real nice athletic play along the sideline.
And Ochuri, that time took it in from a yard out for the touchdown. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Good push at the point of attack here. That buys an offensive line.
Not only on that play, but in this whole drive, I think we saw how the NDSU offensive line is starting to take things over right now.
So Keller will look to add the extra point for a 21-0 lead with 3:20 to go here in the first half. And Keller knocks it through, and the Bison lead at 21-0 on the Ag Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. As we look at Ojuri taking this one in. His 4th touchdown of the season gives the Bison a 21-point lead. Today's game brought to you in crystal clear, high definition by the North Dakota corn growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. Hard to believe this is already it for the regular season before the playoffs begin. Proud to bring all these games to you this season in high definition on NBC ND Sports, and wherever you are watching across the country. Ben LeCompte on to boot away another Peterson Farm Seed kickoff. Kick off your planning season with Peterson Farm Seed. That's Swift from his own 4. Stopped a couple different times, and then Brian Shepard got in to make the tackle with MJ Stumpf, the redshirt freshman from Harvey. It's 21-0, North Dakota State from the Fargo Dome. We'll be back after these messages. They start them young here in Fargo. And that young man taking that one in, probably not going to remember this game, but he can say he was here for the final regular season matchup and the possible perfect regular season. That being done for the first time, if it's accomplished here today, in 23 years. Fake jet sweep. Instead, they go back to Roberts, and Roberts is taken down after a gain of 2. Travis Beck came in to make the stop. Beck playing with that shoulder that was popping in and out quite a bit a couple of weeks ago, and we were here against Illinois State. Held up relatively well last week at Youngstown. Earl so far here today, by the way, just 5 of 13 for 42 yards and an interception.
And the run game so far has only gotten a little over 50 yards as well.
Roberts again will get the call, and this time good space up the middle. As Carlton Littlejohn, Christian Dudzik come in to make the stop, but South Dakota picks up a first down, and then a flag comes flying in at the 40 after the play is over.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Like Perry was trying to get himself stopped and couldn't. Offensive lineman engaged and did a real nice job of keeping the big man moving.
After the play, personal foul, late hit, number 67 on the defense. 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
And that's on the senior Cody O'Neill, the center from Harvard, Illinois.
That was a major issue for USD in the first 4 games of the year or so. Dead ball after the play, personal fouls, and most of the time it was someone among the offensive line getting a little bit of an extra shove in there. It's been something the Coyotes corrected a little bit more in the last half of the year, but we just saw it again.
So the first down stands because it's after the play, but South Dakota backed up to the 25. Roberts again. The interior linemen, Ryan Drevlo and Perry, coming in to make the stop. Travis Beck also stuck his nose in there.
Beck made a real nice move around the potential blocker to get his shoulders back squared up to stop Roberts.
Not a bad first half here for Roberts. 13 carries, 75 yards. Brian Shaw, Kevin Feeney, and Lee Timmerman joining you from the Fargo Dome. Thanks for being with us for this regular season finale between North Dakota State and South Dakota. Bison leading 21-0, ticking down towards 1 minute to go here in the first half as Robert gets the call again, and he is taken down from behind. Nice play by Jeremy Gordon, who's playing with a torn ACL. The senior from Milwaukee on the Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
Gordon, the right end, gets down low, and then Beck also just literally puts his shoulder into him. He wasn't even trying to wrap him up. Timeout, NDSU.
Gordon, transferring in from the North Dakota State College of Science, has somehow been playing with an ACL tear for the last few games, and it's been amazing for him to even get out in the field here for 10 or 15 reps. And certainly you hate it when all your seniors leave because of all the great football they've played here. But on that defensive line, that's where I think the Bison might get hit hardest. That's where they're losing a majority of their seniors, including Levon Perry, including Cole Jirick. Certainly Danny Lukey's been a valuable guy in a backup role.
But defensive line is one of those positions where NDSU has what every other team in the country wishes they could have. It's got 4 or 5 guys that you can rotate. Just that defensive tackle. That's how you keep people fresh. We know how good that the defensive ends are, but that interior is a big plus.
Well, I think that's probably the number one reason for the success that they've had on defense is the amount of bodies that they've played and the depth that they've developed through the experience of playing. I think they got that from Northern Iowa during their successful year run.
And Ryan Drevlo certainly has played a lot of great football in his time here from the small town of Gwinner, North Dakota, just down the road. That pass incomplete as Earl was looking for Wilhelm, who was open. But an errant pass there will bring up a 4th down with a minute to go.
Yeah, Esley Thornton right there will maybe send a little thank you letter for Earl, because Thornton got himself caught a little bit in no man's land, and Earl knows he should have completed that pass. It would have been an easy 1st down.
So Bergner on for another punt. Well, Bergner, by the way, actually played in this one was shanked badly. Will bounce at the 47 and taken South Dakota hop to the 45, but boy, that one maybe goes for 25 yards. Bergner, by the way, just to finish my thought on him, actually played in the Under Armour game in high school last year, was a All-American for the U.S. Army game.
But in talking to, again, people around the program, because of, remember the snap issues we talked about earlier in the game and how they ran through 3 or 4 different snappers, they thought that kind of disrupted his timing and his confidence so much early in the year that even now O'Neill has the snaps there, he quite hasn't gotten it back in terms of just getting the ball off his foot and off his foot well, and we saw a poor punt right there.
And Bergner also the field goal kicker on this team, so double duty for that young man who, again, is just a freshman out of Longmont, Colorado. .52 seconds and 3 timeouts for Jensen to work with here to try to get the Bison at least into field goal range.
Going empty now.
Starr on the blitz. Jensen sidestepped him and then makes the toss across the middle to Kerry Woods. Nice catch by Kerry Woods, the redshirt freshman from Bemidji. Gets the Bison up to the 35.
Starr's going to want to have that one back. The defensive staff for the Coyotes had a great call. They blitzed him inside. He had a head up, shoulder pad to Brock Jensen. Delivers a great pass, but even a better catch by Kerry Woods. Outstanding catch with his hands.
Ticking down now inside 35 seconds as Jensen will take off with it, and he's taken down at the 35, and the Bison will call a timeout. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
This is the previous play, and what you're talking about, Kevin. Starr had him and then didn't.
Right here, watch the extension by Kerry Woods, knowing that he's going to get hit the second he catches that football.
Buscarini was there to bring him down. Loggy See if North Dakota State can get a few more yards here for Adam Keller, or even take a shot at the end zone with 30 seconds to go.
It's going to be interesting to see the Coyote defensive staff here. Are they going to bring pressure? Are they going to try and get a hat and take them out of field goal position by getting a sack? Or are they going to sit back and play coverage? They've been burned when they've been bringing pressure early on in this football game. I don't know if you want to leave those defensive backs out to dry and go one-on-one with number 82 and number 4.
That guy right there will be making the decision on what happens here on 2nd and 10 from the 35. Brent Vigen, the offensive coordinator at North Dakota State. Little extra pressure. This one complete. Kevin Bodlin slipped down at the 26.
Just short,
He's short of a first down. Down to 20 seconds. The Bison still have one timeout left, but choose not to use it here, as Jensen will pick up a first down, sneaking ahead to the 22. That will stop the clock momentarily. And Craig Bohl is signaling he wants Jensen to spike the ball here, and he does with 11 seconds to go here in the first half.
You got 11 seconds, you got one timeout left. You can take a shot down the middle of the field if need be.
Well, at first I thought it looked like Coach Bohl wanted to call a timeout and then realized he only has one left, and then he backs off the field. And I think maybe the players thought that he had called the timeout as well.
Well, and I think they were trying to determine whether or not Vodlin had gotten the first down, and it was a lot closer than I think what the North Dakota State coaches believed right away. They thought they had the first down.
Derek Lang, the single setback here on 2nd and 10. Smith and Vrah to the top of your screen. And Jensen's going up, looking for Zach Vrah, who is open. He got a foot down, and it's a touchdown for North Dakota State with 3 seconds left in the first half. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
At about the 5-yard line, he just separates himself from the defender. Looked like he just tried to leave him go on a little bit of a deep zone or something. That was weird. If that was the case, that was a scheme that didn't work. That was strange.
That's poor communication between that corner and that safety. That corner's got to carry that a lot further than what he did, and understand that the time that is on the clock left in the half, that you're going to give up a 5 to 7 yard flat route and knock him out of bounds and give up a potential field goal instead of a touchdown.
False start penalty whistled here on NDSU. I think they got Tyler Gimmisted, the right guard on that offense for North Dakota State, jumping early. So Keller will have to boot it through from about 25 yards out.
Well, that was the way it was described to me, that in the secondary, a lot of the big plays that South Dakota's given up have been scheme-type plays, not one-on-one athletic plays, and that appeared to be an example of exactly what the issue has been.
And Keller boots it through for a 28-0 lead with 3 seconds to go here in the first half.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Jensen again very comfortable.
How about that footwork by Vrah? Actually got 2 feet
Got them
down.
both down. You only need one.
And what I was talking about, you could see the flat player for the Bison at about the 10-yard line. And what I was getting at there is the corner's responsible for the flat area, but you got to understand they're going to attack that side pocket where the deep half safety has to get over the top. That corner right there, you see Ryan Smith at the 10-yard line. That corner's got to get underneath that Zach Vrah. And then if the ball is thrown to Ryan Smith, you rally up and you knock him out of bounds. There's 3 seconds left. It potentially ends the half. Or on the flip side of that, let's say they do get it out of bounds, that the Bison are forced to kick a field goal instead of giving up almost what could be a back-breaking touchdown to end this first half.
It's really been all North Dakota State here in the first half, LT.
Yeah, Jason Petrino, the defensive coordinator, was talking about Zach Vrah and the things that Vrah has done for NDSU this year. He goes, every time the kid touches the ball, there goes 2 more first downs in terms of yardage. He's probably over that right now, but that shows you the impact that he has had through the air this year. And again, just torching the Coyotes. Number 82 doing it again today.
Brock Jensen, 13 of 18 for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns here in the first half. LeCompte will squib it down, taken by one of the up men. And he's probably best just to get down, and he does. as Kyle Guziak fields that kickoff, and that will take us to the end of the first half. Jamal Spencer will catch a word here with NDSU head coach Craig Bohl on what has been a very successful first half. South Dakota just 116 yards of total offense, along with the turnover from Earl. And Jamal has head coach Craig Bohl.
You know, Coach, your vertical passing attack was really effective there early in the game. What made you decide to go to that so often?
Well, some of the, some of their coverages they're playing, made them vulnerable. You got really good protection. Zach's a great deep threat, and Brock's putting the ball on the money.
You know, he's been able to run with his legs before, Brock, but he's been under pressure sometimes, and he's stepping up in the pocket. Have you been impressed with his pocket presence so far?
He's having a great day. He's gotten better and better throughout the year. He's a great competitor. He's keeping his motions in check, and he's making plays with his legs, and then that was a great 2-minute drive.
And, lastly, your defense as the half went on got stronger and stronger. Talk about how they performed today.
Well, they're a strong physical offense, and our guys up front are doing a good job, and now we're going to put them in a position where we got to make them have to throw, and that's where we want them to be.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. You know what, guys, you can tell Coach has been yelling and screaming a lot down here, a little bit hoarse. Probably not too much screaming here at the half. Back up to you.
Thank you, Jamal. Yeah, somebody get Coach a cough drop or something. 28-0, North Dakota State leads over South Dakota here at halftime of the Fargo Dome. We'll be back with the Proceed Halftime Report right after this.
Welcome to the Proceed Halftime Report. Bison up 28-10. If you were with us in the pregame show, then you saw the beginning of our series with a sit-down with Phil and Bertie Bohl. Let's continue that now as we discuss Craig Bohl coming here in 1984.
Your first coaching job was actually here in Fargo at NDSU, 1984. Do you remember that time? What was that like for him? Must have been pretty exciting, I'm guessing.
Very.
He was excited.
Very excited. He was just happy that he was in the coaching, and was working with a great group up here, and he had some good kids too that he coached, and he'll always be thankful that he got that first job.
You guys came up to some games, I'm guessing, back then. You remember 1984 at all, the season
Yes.
NDSU had back then?
I remember. We were so used to the red and white, and here was all this green and yellow, yes, yeah, it was exciting. We thought Fargo was a nice town, and it was a good start for him.
You guys have only missed 2 games, I think, in 11 seasons. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, you guys have gone on the road, you've gone for home games, you've been all over the country. What's that been like following Craig on his journey here at North Dakota State for the second time?
Well, it's just to maybe even give him some support sometimes, but often he says, Daddy says, you're not a coach. You can't tell me what to do, I keep trying to tell him, I said, a few things, especially I tell him 100 times, run the fullback. Won't do it. He just won't do it. And
The people we've met, it's just been incredible.
Yeah, the people up here are just very similar to Nebraska people.
So I'll tell you, driving from Lincoln to Fargo is a pretty long trip, and it wears you down, and them to do it every single weekend almost for 11 years now is amazing.
And Craig has won here. I mean, he's taken a program that was going through a transitionary period, didn't have a conference, finally found a conference, finally had a winning season, finally got to the playoffs for the first time. 2 national championships follow with wins over Minnesota, wins over Colorado State, wins over Kansas State. Does it just blow your mind to think everything he's accomplished here in 11 seasons? It's pretty remarkable.
Well, it has in a certain aspect, but when he puts his mind to something, he's going to work on it until he gets it done. I know that. He can get pretty particular, too, about where he sees things that he needs fixing, I guess you might call it. And he's pretty determined in that area. So
I think going through really got to me has been on game day when he came through riding in the little cart, and I thought, just my gosh, I wonder if he really knows, what he's done with his life. He's accomplished so much.
Craig still won't listen to his dad, Phil. This season, the Bison fullbacks have, you guessed it, 0 carries. Well, we'll hear more from Phil and Bertie when we return to the Proceed Halftime Report after this break. Welcome back to the Proceed Halftime Report. 28-0 Bison at the half. You know, Phil and Bertie Bowl come all the way up from Lincoln for each Bison home game, and they don't just hang out with Craig afterwards. They visit their grandson Aaron over at MSUM. And for a family as tight as theirs, no drive is too far.
When you guys are going to the games and after the games are over, Craig goes to his press conference, addresses the team, comes out, and the first people he talks to are you guys, first people he looks for. What's that like?
We do. We have a good relationship. That's one thing that we've always been close. We've been a close family. So we kind of look after one another.
And I know, Bertie, it's kind of cool having Aaron up here, too.
Oh,
you know,
it's great.
He's just right across the river. That works out pretty well for you guys.
It's really nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
What's it like to watch Aaron play football? Does it bring you back any memories of when Craig?
Oh, East High,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'd go up to East High, sit there and watch the Spartans and see him in the blue and white. It just, that was exciting.
Whenever I was looking at playing college football, we didn't think that was a possibility. And once I came up here to Moorhead, we figured out that they would be able to probably catch 1 or 2 games a year, which was nice on like NSU's bye week, or if they have a later game, they usually get over and catch the beginning of my game. Is there a moment that sticks out to you above all the others about his coaching career, or anything that you remember as maybe your favorite time?
As I said, this game day thing. I mean, that was, you know, you just stop and look at that. That's amazing.
And I think it's the first championship game down in Frisco. That was a big deal. When he really beat Kansas State, yes. And because he coached against that particular coach, you know, and had some memories there. And I think, like you said, he was had his suit on and stood down there on the field afterwards and said, "By golly, I beat this guy." But there's been he's had some close.
Welcome back to the Proceed Halftime Report. Joined now with Stephen Keller, gentleman from Proceed, to talk a little bit about how the soybean harvest went and what Proceed varieties performed well in the area.
Okay, we had an early start, a late start with wet weather, late planting. All in all, we've had in the drier areas 25 to 35 bushel yields, which was much better than the producers expected. In the wetter areas, we had 45, as high as 50 bushel per acre. And some of the varieties that did really well was 2008, 1020, 2030, and 1150. And those would be the ones that really were impressive this year for me in my sales area.
And how about the corn yields?
The corn year is disappointing for some, but overall, we're getting a well above average yields in corn. Moisture is running around 18 to 22%. There is wetter corn. Drying is an issue for some of the novice corn producers. Some of the varieties that are doing really well is 1280, 1083, 1185, 1280, 1083, 1283, and then the 1286. We've gotten as high as 170 bushel crop out in the western part of McLean County, so it's been really good. Although it's wet, it's wet.
But it was good.
We're still scraping mud off our boots yet, so I mean, it's getting close to the end.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Keller. We'll have more on the Proceed Halftime Report, including stats, when we come back.
Welcome back to the Fargo Dome as the Proceed Halftime Report continues. And here's a look at your first half stats brought to you by your North Dakota certified seed producers. And when you look at those numbers, guys, pretty much all North Dakota State.
Well, you're seeing one team that was able to keep the ball and sustain drives and another team that wasn't. It's pretty simple.
Big pass plays, that they've got to find a way to take those away. They're doing a decent job running the football, as you can see, with 74 yards rushing at the half. Big plays in the running game have been a positive for South Dakota.
Those halftime stats brought to you by the North Dakota certified seed producers. Get set to kick off the second half. And the Bison will receive. They deferred. And this will be a Peterson Farm Seed kickoff. Kick off your planting season with Peterson Farm Seed. Ryan Smith is deep for NDSU as Bergner is getting set to kick this one away. And this one kicked to one of the up men. That is Derek Lang from his own 16. And Langer bounces outside to the 35 and pushed out of bounds at the 36. So the Bison, good field position here for their opening drive of the second half, leading by 28.
Well, you do a good job of keeping it away from one of the deep guys, and then Lang's able to get it back out to the 36, so you're still giving up that field goal, or excuse me, that good field position. So, you know, there's sometimes there's not a right one to choose if you're, you know, the opponent and you're down by 28 points.
Brock Jensen will bring his squad back onto the field, and Jensen, as we mentioned, a huge first half, 13 of 18 for 210 yards and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Both coming to Zach Vra. And the 12 touchdown receptions by Vra ties a single season NDSU record with T.R. McDonald. Jensen completes this one. Another nice catch for Kerry Woods, the redshirt freshman, making his second reception of the day and picks up 8 up to the 45.
A little bit of a rollout pass here. You can see it move the pocket. Great job once again by Kerry Woods of catching that football with his hands. I think you're going to see a lot more of Kerry Woods, and I think Bison fans are just getting a glimpse of what's down the road. It's going to be tough to replace a guy like Ryan Smith, but Kerry Woods is a guy that's going to have to fill that role next fall.
Second and a long one coming up here for the Bison. Smith is your motion man.
About a pre-snap movement today by NDSU.
Sam O'Jury gets the call. He has a first down and much more. Sam O'Jury down the sidelines. Goodbye, Sam O'Jury, his second touchdown of the day.
He made a fantastic move about 5 yards past the line of scrimmage at the point of attack. That shot open, the outside was wide open. Now this will be a very good angle in the Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. Bang, right there. And right now you can tell he's gone. Safety came up too much, too far, got caught.
That's one of those as a safety. You've got to get into that run game, and you've got to get up into that pocket right out of the gate, because now you're giving Sam a two-way go. And you saw earlier in the football game when he didn't give him that two-way go, Sam kind of stutter-stepped and it lost his big chance for a big play. You can see right there, he put his foot in the ground and got north and south.
Keller adds the extra point, and North Dakota State has added to the lead now and lead at 35-0 as Craig Bohl looks like he might close in on his 100th career victory here at NDSU. Asked Coach Bohl about that 100th win, and wouldn't you know it, he didn't want to talk about it earlier this week.
And if he did say much about it, he would say, well, that's a credit to the players.
And other coaches. So it doesn't take the Bison long to strike here. Just 48 seconds into the third quarter, and NDSU has laid the wood to the Coyotes of South Dakota. Look at O'Jury.
And after the long touchdown run, it's over 3-1 in terms of yardage, total yardage produced for the two teams today.
Sam O'Jury, 13 carries, 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is now just 4 yards short of another 1,000-yard season. And it's really been the seniors doing damage. Certainly Vra, but Ryan Smith has had his plays, and Ojuri, Jensen certainly showing up, and defensively, we've seen that defensive line really take over the football game.
Well, you talk about the win out in Youngstown. Both backs are over 100. Jensen throws for 4 and runs for another one. You can't ask for anything more than that.
LeCompte boots this one away. Knox on the return, gets it up to the 24 before he is upended. And that's where South Dakota will have it.
You know, when you were talking earlier, Brian, about the seniors showing up, I mean, it's twofold. Number one, this is, like we've talked about, one of the best senior classes to ever come through North Dakota State, and certainly their records prove that. But on the same token, it's also an emotional day, and the coaches know that, and they're going to try and make it as special of a day for these guys as possible. That's why you're seeing these guys make big plays, and you're seeing some stuff like the hook and ladder to Billy Turner.
Kevin Earl brings out that South Dakota offense that struggled a little bit. Jordan Roberts a nice first half running the football, but Earl really struggled throwing it. And this one is almost intercepted by C.J. Smith as Earl tried to find Riley Donovan, and Donovan has been shut out so far here this afternoon.
Smith played this about as well as you possibly can play it. He has good position on the receiver. He took a peek back into the backfield if the ball was coming out, and then tried to make an adjustment to the ball once it did. Very, very good job right there by C.J. Smith.
Earl just 5 of 15 for 42 yards so far here today. Roberts will get the carry. He stood up by Colton Heagle, and then Carlton Littlejohn also comes in to finish him off after a gain of 4.
But you take a look at where these two teams are, and obviously USD has made major strides over the way it was last year. So they're taking steps and trying to get better. But right now, you're looking at a team that expects to win, playing a team that someday hopes to win. And you can just get a sense and a feel from these two programs. It's where they're at, and NDSU does expect to win. There's no doubt about it.
So another third down coming up. The Yotes just 1 of 7 on third down until that catch by Wilhelm. Tyler Wilhelm makes the reception at the Bison 41, and that's good enough for a Yote first down.
Well, Heagle's going to come on a safety blitz. He's coming from your right. You see number 20. The right play was called, or the right check was made at the line by Earl to go to the other way and get it to his tight end.
Colton Heagle, I should mention, told me today that his old high school in Kimberly, Wisconsin, won the state championship in Wisconsin yesterday, 51-10, as Littlejohn makes the tackle on Roberts after a gain of 1. And they may have the best high school mascot I've ever heard, the Paper Makers.
If you've ever been to Kimberly, you'll know that's where the big paper company, Kimberly-Clark, is located. So it does make sense.
There's a look at Heagle. Had another fantastic season coming off an ACL tear last year. Play action for Earl. Fires across the middle, has an open receiver, and that's Vandermotten. And Vandermotten still on his feet as Esley Thornton wrestles him down, or excuse me, C.J. Smith at the 33. Good enough for another South Dakota first down. And Vandermotten, what a story this guy is. Started the first 2 games at quarterback for South Dakota before he was moved to receiver, and also started at tailback last week.
One of the reasons he can do all of that is because he has good speed. He's been clocked 4.4 during the summer, and so being able to take that speed and utilize it. And we talked about in the first half that his willingness to do that, to do whatever he could to help the team, a big feather in that young man's hat.
Back to the ground game. Little stutter step there for Roberts as Littlejohn makes another tackle up to the 30, pickup of 3.
38 Carlton Littlejohn is now for the Bison.
South Dakota again going with the quick huddle here. Trying to establish a little tempo, making the calls at the line. And Levon Perry jumped off sides, and then the right tackle jumped for South Dakota, and this will likely be a neutral zone infraction on North Dakota State.
And following up a little bit what Lee was talking about earlier about where the two programs are at, I think it's going to be interesting to watch the next few years of Joe Glenn's tenure as they start to develop more depth. And you can certainly see that the special teams are playing a huge factor in this football game with the short fields that the Bison are getting and the success that they're having. But as you develop depth, whether it be in the secondary and the defensive line, and we've talked about all those success stories that the Bison have had, certainly they're going to look at that blueprint and try to replicate that. And Joe Glenn's going to get guys in, and that's going to help that special team. It's going to help that depth, and they will have a better product out on that field.
Roberts again, another tackle for Littlejohn, but Roberts has another first down for South Dakota down to the 19.
Someone's still on the turf. I have not seen the, well.
Looks like Brian Schatz.
Number 61. He had about 2 or 3 guys on top of him. It's the way he landed with a bunch of big people on him.
Looks like Schatz going to try to walk it off here as he's holding that shoulder. Looks like his left shoulder. Bobby Knodel, one of the athletic trainers at NDSU, attending here to Schatz as we take a look at the Nodak Mutual Insurance report.
Schatz is right in the middle. He's engaged with number 66. And then how you land or how that arm is extended when you get all that mass pushing back down on it, might have popped it out a bit.
Probably only like 600-700 pounds worth of mass falling on that. Here's that bunch formation we talked about earlier. Bison playing man coverage last time when they saw this formation.
Earl has time, now fires to the end zone, and Dudzik is there to make the interception in the end zone. Second interception for Earl, and for Dudzik, he has his 3rd of the season.
They run a little smash concept. Bison are playing zone coverage. Earl's trying to put it into too-way tight of a window, and he did it earlier on this drive too. He needs to learn how to just throw that football away when they have the upper hand on the call.
So North Dakota State still pitching a shutout. It's 35-0 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. A look inside our control room, and today's game brought to you in high definition by the North Dakota Corn Growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. Thanks to all those folks behind the scenes that make us look good. Jetsier is the fullback. And John Crockett, that's the first carry for Crockett in quite some time. He picks up 5 up to the 25.
Also, too, Brian, to the guys and gals at Token Creek who bring us this HD equipment and how fun it's been using that truck this year.
It has been a lot of fun.
Yep.
Whether you're joining us on NBC North Dakota Sports, Midco Sports Network, or on Fox College Sports Pacific, thank you for tuning in for this broadcast between North Dakota State and South Dakota. Brian Shaw, Kevin Feeney, and Lee Timmerman with you from the Fargo Dome in this regular season finale. Crockett again gets the call, sidesteps one tackler and then drags one other tackler for a first down up to the 34. Pickup of 9 for Crockett.
Well, it's that time of the game where for the offensive line, it's time to grind. But I tell you, when Jensen comes up to the line on that particular play, sees press coverage, press man on both outside and one single safety deep, he has to be just kicking himself going, man, if this was in the first half, I would check out of this to a deep pass to either side, but I know I can't do it now.
And there's a look at one of our HD cameras, not the little one, the bigger one you see there with the number 5 on it. And that's getting the shot you're going to be seeing right here.
South Dakota daring him.
Crockett again gets the call. Has some room to the outside as he bounces outside and turns the corner and picks up 8 more down to the 43.
Starr making the tackle, but not until you pick up 8 yards on first down. You know, we've seen NDSU's offensive line, and we've watched these guys all year long. And what they do is hard. They make it look easy. We as you know, people at home being able to watch this, or Bison fans, what they've done this year as a group has just been phenomenal.
Crockett again finds another big hole, and John Crockett inside South Dakota territory down to the 39. And South Dakota deploying a lot of guys to the line of scrimmage, and the Bison still found some creases there to run. Swift making the tackle at safety, or Crockett might have gone.
Pushed by the offensive line, though. They're driving that defensive line, especially those interior tackles, right into the laps of those inside linebackers. And you can see right there the South Dakota linebackers cannot scrape into that B gap. They're getting caught up in the trash. I tell you what, it's going to be a long second half if this continues with the defensive line.
Jensen quick out to Zach Vra, who is left uncovered, and Vra picks up 11 more. Inside the 30, down to the 28.
Well, back to what Coach Petrino said. Every time Vrog touches the ball, it seems like there goes another first down. He was right again.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay, and boy, if you're just going to leave him out there by himself, that's pretty easy.
Well, we've talked about it in previous games right there. It's an inside zone run play. It's called at the line of scrimmage. They tag it with something at the end that just tells the wide receivers to just turn around. If Brock Jensen wants to just throw it, take it. If those DBs were in press coverage, then he's just going to run the run play, and that's as easy a football as you can get.
Well, there's in many respects, the leader of that offensive line, the All-American Turner.
Has played since his true freshman year, has not missed a start since the second game of the season in 2010 at Northern Iowa. An offensive lineman that has played 15 games last year, 15 games the year before, 13 games the year before that. And here he is, it's already played, how many this year, 11? That's a lot of football in 4 years for a true freshman that came in here.
And he wants the hook and ladder called again.
And you know what, these seniors, as they were coming out of the tunnel, you kind of get that nostalgia of how fast it's gone. But I remember talking about Billy Turner on his first start. That's how old we're getting up here, fellas.
Crockett again gets the carry in. Crockett got a great block, and Crockett's still on his feet, and he's going to score! Everybody's getting into the act here at the Fargo Dome from North Dakota State.
Well, Crockett really at the end of this run rewards the great work done by everyone else at the front end of it.
Nate Moody did a great job to finish off that block, but Andrew Bonnet is having a day today. I tell you what, he's putting bodies on the ground at the second level. That's not easy to do, and you're seeing heels to the sky. He's driving basically his head right through kneecaps, and it's a yard sale from these defensive backs for South Dakota.
O'Jury 2 touchdowns, now Crockett with 2 touchdowns, both guys over 100 yards. And the NDSU ground game taking over, 232 yards on the ground, 230 through the air for 462 as Keller adds the extra point. And the Bison steamrolling South Dakota 42-0 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard as Crockett punches in another one. Time now for the North Dakota Certified Seed Producers Fan Cam. Fans young and old taking in this final regular season matchup at the Fargo Dome. Of course, the fans here have at least 3 playoff games to look forward to here in the Fargo Dome. At least they hope 3 playoff games as they continue to win. The first one will be in 2 weeks from today at the Dome. Ben Lecomte puts the toe to it. Bounces to Knox, and he will take a knee in the end zone, and South Dakota will start with it at their own 25-yard line. A couple of scores we should pass along. South Dakota State went down to Youngstown, pretty much ran the Penguins out of their own building. 42-13, the Jacks moved to 8-4. The Penguins dropped to 8-4, and now both of those teams will have to wait and see what their playoff fates are coming up tomorrow morning. It would sure be a shame if the Valley only got 2 teams in, as both have had tremendous seasons, but the way Youngstown has played the last couple of weeks, losing by 18 to NDSU and now dropping a 29-point decision to South Dakota State, is not going to look good. Earl, chased by Hardy, got rid of it, threw it in the flat and incomplete. Wilhelm, the intended target there. Travis Beck and Esley Thornton. Good job in pass coverage. There's a look at Mike Hardy, another Sioux Falls product that has come in here and played very well since his freshman year. Earl now just 7 of 18 for 81 yards and 2 interceptions so far here today. Again, this is a guy that threw for 325 at South Dakota State last week. This one complete to Terry, and Terry taken down right at the line of scrimmage. Nice play by Jordan Champion, who came up and stuck him.
The Champion has shown his ability to make tackles. In his first start, he did that as well, and if I'm not mistaken, led NDSU in tackles in that particular game a few weeks ago.
Champion, just a sophomore from Avondale, Arizona. And Terry with that reception is just one shy of the all-time South Dakota record for receptions in a season. 3rd and 9 coming up. The Yotes 2 of 8 so far here today on 3rd down. And he is buried. Earl taken down by Cole Jurek. He's got his 2nd sack of the day.
Earl had no place to go. The front and the sides of this pocket just come crashing in on him. You also see Drevlo getting a real good push there on the right guard.
So another 3 and out for South Dakota and another punting situation. One of those 24 seniors, Jurek, has started since his redshirt freshman year. Bergner will punt it away to Ryan Smith, and Smith has some room to roam. To the 40, the 50, and Ryan Smith taken down inside South Dakota territory, down to the 40, and the Bison again on a short field, leading big here at the Fargo Dome. The route is on, 42-0 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. Two mascots squaring off, and I think Thundar's got a little bit more to throw at the Coyote mascot's face at this point, as North Dakota State actually starts at their own 25. There was a holding call that came in late on Trevor Gebhardt, so instead of the Bison having the ball at the Coyote 40, they start from their own 25. Jensen, play action, has time, firing deep, he's got Zach Bra, and back came the defender to make a play as the ball was just a little bit underthrown. Good job by Ryan Algier coming back to make a play on the football there. Nodak Mutual Insurance replay.
He's just trying to play catch up, and that right hand ended up being right where the ball was.
Algier, a freshman from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So 2nd and 10 coming up. And this may be the last drive for the Bison offense. You'd have to think at some point they might pull those guys out as Ojuri gets the call here. Another nice strong run for Ojuri. He picks up 6 to the 31. And remember, fans, for all the latest on NDSU athletics, visit www.gobison.com. 3rd and 4 coming up as we tick down under 5 minutes now in the 3rd quarter.
It's pretty safe to say that's what NDSU has done today. They've been on the go.
The Bison 5 of 7 on 3rd down so far here today. Jensen will take off with it. Hit in the backfield and down he goes. Steve Tellefson, a junior transfer from Arizona Western, came in kind of a high-low, and he took down Jensen. As Loggy kind of got on there low on Billy Turner.
Jensen tries to spin back to the outside, and hello.
Then LeCompte on for the punt.
Jensen may have talked the first unit into going back out on that possession, but after seeing that, I'd be real surprised if the ones come in again.
And LeCompte, a nice high deep punt. fair catch way back at the 20 by Vandermotten. 55-yard punt, I believe, there for LeCompte. The sophomore from Barrington, Illinois, has done a nice job this season. Let's take a look at our North Dakota Soybean Council trivia question. What percentage of North Dakota soybeans are exported? We'll have that answer coming up for you.
Well, just to follow up, Brian, with what you were talking about with LeCompte, I think it's one of the things that again, in a way you take for granted. He's been so solid this year for NDSU in one of those specialty areas that you just become used to it. You go, oh yeah, another 50-yarder. Oh yeah, another one inside the 10.
Roberts taken down by Travis Beck after a pickup before. And you know, you're right, LT, and I think you can go back to Mike Dragosevich. You can go back to John Prelvitz and even Voigtlander there for a year in the first national championship. Punting has just not been an issue here for the last decade.
And you know what, they do such a great job with that spread punt. They give a lot of different looks. You can see right there was more of the rugby style punt. Watching him punt in warmups, he's obviously very comfortable with it because he was booming them in the pregame warmups on that rugby style punt.
Michael Murphy, by the way, the long snapper, has also been tremendous. Nice catch by Wilhelm, driven out of bounds by Beck. But Meyer's a guy that has started every game since his freshman year, and you have never seen a problem with Michael Murphy.
Yep.
And Murphy came in here from Hollister, California. And again, a guy that probably does not get a lot of recognition, but he's even been really good on punt coverage. Has been one of those guys that hustle down there after the punt goes off.
But as a long snapper, you don't want recognition,
don't want people
because
to
you
know
know
your
what?
name. Yeah.
They'll announce your name when you snap the football, but the only time they're really going to recognize you is if something goes wrong.
And there is Murphy, number 50.
He's gotten to play in every college football game that he's suited up for. That's pretty neat, too.
Vandermotten, another third down, will fire, and Vandermotten, the intended target for Earl, and again, it's Jordan Champion in on the coverage. Made it a couple of nice plays, and it's 4th and 3.
South Dakota coaches are on the sideline kind of chirping at the officials
I thought he
here.
was there a little early. Well, maybe not.
Joe Glenn.
He's keep coaching. It's 42-0, but I tell you what, Joe Glenn, like I said before, I think it's going to be fun to watch. He will get this South Dakota program back where it'll be very successful. I truly believe that, and he'll put himself in a position, and the guys around him, where they will be successful in the Valley.
Bergner, another punt. Ryan Smith, another fair catch. The Bison will have it at the 31.
Well, and one of the things, too, though, you got to remember that when you talk about the Valley, Kevin, that, you know, South Dakota has not been in the conference very long. It's the same type of things you may remember Coach Bowles saying after going from the Great West into the Valley Conference. It's like, whoa, we thought we were ready for it, but this conference is a total different animal, game in and game out, than what you had in the Great West, and that's the same type of transition right now that USD is trying to make.
I asked Coach Glenn on the Missouri Valley coaches conference call this week, you know, what's the next step? And he said, well, building depth, but we're all trying to be like North Dakota State, and until we can get a few more wins, we're not going to be able to beat them in recruiting. And he goes, that's going to be the first challenge, is getting enough momentum to win a few recruits from those guys. We take a look at one coach who has built a program into national power and one that is hoping to build one.
Well, when you're talking about recruiting, I was speaking with Jason Petrino as the #1 offense, or Brock Jensen comes out, and I'll make the point later. Nice hand for Jensen. But Petrino said right now NDSU has gotten to a point where they don't recruit. He said they pick.
Nice to get to that point.
Exactly.
Jensen in line to become the all-time wins leader in the FCS. His 44th career victory as John Crockett is stacked up after a gain of 2. And Jensen will now have a couple of weeks off before he gets ready for the first playoff game here at the Dome. First weekend of December.
Well, Kevin, you quarterbacks get all the credit. He gets all the credit for which offensive lineman has the most wins in FCS history? I don't know.
Billy Turner's probably
Billy Turner. I was going to throw that out there.
But
Billy Turner.
My point is, you know, the old quarterback gets all the blame and all the credit.
So you don't think Billy Turner will get a jog off the field and a big standing ovation? He wouldn't even want that.
He might.
So Carson Wentz into the ball game. The sophomore from Bismarck. Carson's going to get a chance to throw the football here. Across the middle, behind his intended target, Kerry Woods. Incomplete, and the Bison will have to punt.
But you go back to Jensen and the thought on him, and especially the second half of this year, he has been so efficient. I mean, the last 4 games, I think it was, coming into today, he was at 70% or just a hair over 70%. And, and look at what he did again here today. He's right there again.
16 of 22 for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns for Brock Jensen. 26 touchdowns this season. An all-time NDSU single-season record. LeCompte, another booming high punt. Vandermotten calls for the fair catch at the 19, and that's where the Coyotes will have it with 19 seconds to go here in the third quarter.
Following up on your point, though, when you're talking about Brock Jensen and the success that they've had throwing, he's certainly had great games throughout his whole career at NDSU, but the most consistent play that he's had has been this back half of this stretch and this run. And I'll tell you what, they certainly have earned the right to have a bye, and we've talked about this earlier on coming off of a bye, and they're going to get some time to heal up and get things going, but Brock Jensen wants to keep this thing going. And when you're joking that he doesn't want to come off the field, it's because you want to stay hot, and he is extremely hot, and the receivers have done a tremendous job of catching the football. He's been protected very well. It just needs to keep rolling, and in Brock Jensen's eyes, just keep playing football games. And the beauty of winning all those football games is because he's been part of great teams, and great teams make deep playoff runs, get to play a lot of football.
Roberts with the carry, very close to a first down, and he is still on the turf after getting upended here by Colton Heagle.
Looked like he kind of got hit right in this. Oh, he took maybe a helmet to the knee, or
that knee has been bothering him.
Yeah, he's had a knee-ankle combination that has not been kind. South Dakota has a redshirt freshman that they really like as a running back, but because of the way the last half of the season has gone, and despite, like last week with Vandermotten starting, they did not want to pull a shirt on a young kid who they really like this late in the year, given the way the season has gone south for them.
And Joe Glenn said this week, Roberts and Bama have both done a tremendous job, but he goes, they are beat up. And when you're a young player, the rigors of this league catches up with you.
Holding his hip or something, it looks like, but
I like the way he plays. He's a downhill runner, and we were joking before about the South Dakota State thing, but he does remind me a little bit of a Zenner. He's a downhill runner. He's a big physical back, and certainly, being a young player, kind of like what you're saying, it's the rigors. You got to learn how to take those shots throughout this career, and you know what? His offseason will be just crazy important for him to make sure that he can withstand the pounding, because Joe Glenn football wants to run the football if they're going to be successful.
That is the end of the fourth quarter, so stand up and raise your 4 because it's the fourth quarter. It's brought to you by PetroServe USA, home of the 4 for $4 hot stuff pizza and our $10,000 PetroServe USA Bison pregame show giveaway. Welcome back to the Fargo Dome. Our North Dakota Soybean Council trivia question. What percentage of North Dakota soybeans are exported? The answer, 95%, a good majority. That question brought to you by the North Dakota Soybean Council. Earl back to pass. Under pressure, he skips that one in. Looking for Nick Meyer. Had a little pressure coming. We'll bring up 2nd and 10. Here's a look at Grant Olson, who has elected not to have ACL surgery because he does not want to miss any practice time, does not want to miss any games through this playoff run. So he's going to have his surgery for his ACL tear whenever the season concludes here for NDSU.
Well, he becomes an instant coach as well, and a lot of times, a player trying to coach another player might be an issue, but there's so much respect for what he's done and the way he's led that defense. That is not a problem. The players will do whatever he says.
Earl slings one out to Myers, and Meyer makes the catch up to the 34, gained about 4.
But I think, Brian, that's probably another way, the commitment that he's had to this group of seniors and this team to not want to miss any of it. despite the fact that you can't be a part of it after you helped, at times dominate that defense, says a lot too, I think, about Grant Olson right there.
And because of the injury to Jordan Roberts, Vandermaden moves into tailback behind Earl in the pistol formation here. Earl fires to Meyer and broken up nicely by C.J. Smith. Another punting situation coming up here for South Dakota, who's yet to convert a third down here in the second half. Nodak Mutual Insurance.
Pass a little bit behind, but a lot of juice on it. That was a tough ball to catch, despite the fact that you have somebody, in this case a corner, and Smith right on you.
Another nice crowd here at the Fargo Dome. 18,234 here to take in this regular season finale and watch the Bison move to 11-0 and take the top seed into the FCS playoffs. Another shank here for Bergner. Bounces at the 32 and out of bounds at the 25, and that's where the Bison will have it when we come back. It's 42-0. North Dakota State well in control here in Fargo. Today's game from the Fargo Dome brought to you in crystal clear high definition by the North Dakota Corn Growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. And thanks to everybody in our production crew for all the games we've brought to you this season. They do a tremendous job behind the scenes. Sean Kelly, Jim Sandy's entire crew. Thank you so much for your commitment for this entire season. Of course, we will still continue to bring pregame shows to you across the state of North Dakota as long as NDSU continues to play throughout the playoffs. As Carson Wentz makes the handoff there and pickup of 3 for Derek Lang. Wentz, play action will roll out, fire in the flat to Bonnet. And Bonnet, there's the high hurdle.
You knew it was coming.
He's made it an art form, and he's bounced out of bounds at the 47.
You could see it coming as soon as he caught the ball.
Nodak Mutual Insurance replay. He just lives to do that in space, doesn't he?
Looks good when it works.
Yeah.
We've seen it enough, and there are teams that have got it on film now a lot. They will be very aware with those defensive backs coming, and Andrew Bonnet's a heck of a football player, and his future is very, very bright, but keeping the feet on the ground is okay.
Derek Lang gets the carry. Patient through the hole, and Derek Lang just about broke it for a touchdown. Still a nice gain, 13 yards up to the 40. And a nice open field tackle there for Taverna, or Lang would have been gone.
Kevin, you talk about the way you're supposed to run, shoulder squared, forward lean. That's what gave him that second chance. Lang did it.
I love watching Derek Lang. Derek Lang's been a guy that's played throughout his whole career. He's sat behind 2 great backs, but I tell you what, he's always kind of the guy that I know Coach Vigen and the whole staff can count on really to do anything in this offense, whether it's run the football, protect the football, or catch the football. And all those things, he is the biggest team guy out there, and that's the reason why these Bison seniors are so special.
Don't forget how big Lang was in that Kansas State game. Had a crucial 3rd and 11.
I think he had a couple of them, if I remember correctly. He's huge, but that's what I'm getting at, is he can be put in at any point in any football game, no matter the circumstances.
Well, and you're talking about things he does with the ball on that 3rd down play on the early part of the drive down at K-State. But in terms of protecting your quarterback, he does it about as well as anyone we've seen in a while in terms of pass pro and picking up linebackers and extra guys coming in.
Back to Langer again. Squeaks through a hole.
Got it, I think.
Has a first down up to the 30.
You know, we've talked about his pass blocking so much, but, you know, I always talk about Crockett and Ojuri and their growth process that they've had, and they've improved in that area. But that really stems from the preparation that he does in practice and the way he coaches those guys up. Those seniors are asked to be leaders on the game field, but even more importantly, off the field and in the practice situations. And Derek Lang, I'll tell you what, done a nice job with Sam Ojuri and Crockett on getting him to be a total package player, because that's what you got to be if you're going to be successful at any level.
Perkins the motion man. And Derek Lang into the clear. Lang inside the 10, down to the 9-yard line. He almost broke that one for a touchdown, following his blocks up the middle.
Well, the hole was massive, and I think we might have caught a hold right in the middle of it somewhere. This won't stand, though.
Number 64 on the offense.
I got Coville.
10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Replay,
so that wipes
first
out
down.
a 21-yard run there for Derek Lang, and Billy Turner coming out of the ball game.
You're right, Kevin. Time does fly. Can't believe it's 4 years with that guy already.
I remember clear as day watching him right up here talking about his first start and how much of a bright future he had here at North Dakota State.
Chase Morlock, the true freshman from Moorhead, a nice carry on first down, picks up 8, down to the 31. Morlock, a guy that has seen a lot of time on special teams so far this season.
You know, in talking with Chase, though, and we've talked a lot about Derek here, but just finish up, a guy like Chase Morlock, what he's talked to me about what Derek has taught him already in just the short time that he's had, whether it be throughout the summer or this fall. I mean, those experiences, you can't have those. Certainly the coach's coach, and you're gonna always answer yes, sir, to the coach, but all of a sudden the coach might coach you on something, but then Derek Lang says, all right, he's right, but here's how it maybe will look actually. And those are the experiences that you can't replicate.
Carson Wentz, quick drop, fires in the flat, nobody home. Kerry Wood somewhere in the vicinity, but it's incomplete. We'll bring up 3rd and 11.
In your conversations with Morlock, who, if people at home don't know, is a former player of Kevin Feeney's just last year, does he give you that, coach, I thought I knew a lot about football in high school, and he get into a situation here in college on how much more there is to learn and how much more there is to the game?
You know what, I think he came in with the mindset that he was here to compete, to play, and he thought, you know, like every high school senior, that they're ready to go. And then all of a sudden when you get here and you just see the intricacies and the detail, I think that's, you know, we talk about attention to detail in high school football, but take that times 100 when it comes to this level of football. And I think that's the one big learning curve that he's going through right now. But those type of learning curves, when you're playing behind guys like Sam Ojuri, Derek Lang, and John Crockett, I tell you what, no better group of guys to learn from for Chase, and that's only going to help that down the road, because that's what it comes down to, is when Chase finally gets to that point as a senior, he needs to be that guy that's going to teach those younger players on what it takes to win football games and national championships.
Adam Proska came in there to make the sack, so a 4th down and 15 coming up for the Bison from the Coyote 35. Seen some substitutions come in here for NDSU. Landon Leckler in. And a timeout called by South Dakota with 9:09 to go in the 4th quarter.
It will run 30 seconds.
There's a look at Joe Glenn. And guys, we invite everybody to stay with us. After the game today, some special post-game celebration activities are scheduled. I don't know if I can get any more specific than that, but we invite everybody to stick around for a special post-game ceremony here at the Fargo Dome for North Dakota State as they finish off this season 11-0. And then we'll come back in 2 weeks, see who we play in the playoffs. North Dakota State will have a bye next weekend. The brackets released tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., and we'll find out what exactly happens at that point.
Yeah, the selection show and the Craig Bowl football show are on at the same time, so make sure you have your DVRs going.
So we should know by the end of the Craig Bowl football show who the Bison are playing. So Coach will be able to comment a little bit on the bracket, and we'll show at least that part of it to you. Statewide NBC and on KX4 as well in the eastern part of the state. And Craig Bowl will be interviewed, by the way, on that FCS selection show tomorrow on ESPNU. So heads up for that.
Still looking for his sack. He didn't get it.
And somehow Wentz slipped out of it, eventually taken down by Kian Lagi for the sack, and the Bison will lose the football on downs with 9:01 to go. You guys, let's take a look back at the schedule this year for North Dakota State. We had 10 of these 11 matchups for you in high definition, NBC statewide, and when you look back at that schedule, anything stand out to you as kind of a turning point or a big part in the season? And Northern Iowa obviously was a big one.
Well, I think the game before that was too. So the game down in Brookings, I thought, you go down there, you had Fair State, Delaware State, two teams that you knew weren't going to be an issue, and they certainly weren't. And then you go down and you shut out the Jacks, and then you come right back and win the one tight game.
Vandermountain with the carry. And since that Northern Iowa game, no team has been closer than 14 points so far this season. Even though NDSU has not played perfect football, they found a way to run away from everybody in the second half.
And you know what, I think it's Coach Bull talks about all the time, it's a game of attrition. And you know what, as the Bison season has gotten longer, they play better football, where a lot of times a lot of teams either have these spikes and a little bit of roller coasters up and down, but you know what, the depth of this football team allows them to get deeper in to the end of these seasons where they're playing great football. But we've talked about, they've been fortunate on a lot of injuries and have a lot of guys playing a lot of football when you talk about the amount of games that these guys have played the last couple of years.
Vandermountain picks up a first down close to midfield, about the 48. See a lot of substitutions in here for NDSU on defense. As we look at the Bobcat game recap, 5 of the 6 touchdowns scored by North Dakota State outside the red zone. A lot of big runs, big passing plays has really done in South Dakota, and it really, by halftime, the football game really, at that point, was no longer in doubt. 512 total yards for that NDSU offense. Earl, again, looking.
It's going to be
Riley Donovan, and I think
there's going to be a chop block.
And Donovan yet to make a catch so far here this afternoon. A guy that had really come in playing pretty good football the last 5-6 weeks.
Chop block, number 41 on the offense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
That's Drew Potter, the fullback. Yep, cut a guy he was still engaged there at the line of scrimmage, and that's kind of the definition of the rule.
Dangerous block as well.
Bo Likas, Antonio Rogers, among others, in on defense now for NDSU, and that includes MJ Stump, who makes a tackle for a loss of 1, the redshirt freshman from Harvey. Nodak neutral insurance replay.
You can see right now, you're going to, as a young linebacker, anytime you see a gap open up, you've got to fill that gap right there. Stump does a great job of filling it, getting his shoulders across, runs his feet on tackle. I tell you what, he's going to be a guy that physically needs to go spend a little more time with Coach Kramer in this offseason, and I tell you what, he's got a bright, bright future. He can run, he's athletic, just needs a little more knowledge and a little bit more experience.
Earl trying to find Meyer on the crossing route, too far and out of bounds. Let's take a look now. And our North Dakota certified seed producers fan cam. Some colorful characters here in the Fargo Dome. Quite a few have left as this game has really pretty much been over since the third quarter.
I don't know if they're sitting out in the parking lot anymore, though. That temperature out there, that's got to be a little cold.
I'll tell you what, letting my dog out this morning and letting that air in the house, I'm like, wow, winter is here. -5 degrees in Fargo today? No, thank you.
I was on my way to some youth activities and driving down the interstate at 7:30 in the morning, and you're already seeing a lot of the tailgating automobiles and buses and everything going down the road. My son looked at me and said, tailgating already has started? I said, I think it might have started last night.
Fans here certainly looking forward to another playoff run for NDSU.
I think it's finally here. I think that's probably the biggest thing. I'll tell you what, between the players and the community and the coaches, you know, it's certainly, they always talk about how important the Valley is. You want to win the conference, get home field advantage. But everybody that is associated with this Bison football program has been waiting for this playoff run, and it can't come soon enough. They want to get guys healthy. They needed that little bit of a break here with the bye. They've earned it. But I tell you what, this whole community is going to get jacked up for that playoff run.
The cold weather does not scare the tailgaters away. They're kind of prepped for that here.
I think they take more pride in it.
I think they
do. The
do.
colder it is, the better it is.
South Dakota has not won in Fargo over NDSU since I was a month old. 1978, the last time they came into Fargo and won. And that will not change today. 42-0 on the Egg Country Farm Credit Services scoreboard. The Bison 6:30 away from finishing off a perfect regular season. A look at Marcus Williams briefly. There he is, number 1, who did suit up today and did run out of the helmet but did not play. Still nursing a knee injury. He is expected to be back for the playoff opener in December. Wentz gives it off again to Derek Lang. Powers ahead for 3.
Well, we've talked a lot about the wins and some of the things, you know, you have your offensive, defensive lines have certainly led that charge. But I think the biggest thing, too, is home field, yes, but the bye. The bye, when you know you're going to play a team that has to play the week before, it is such an advantage when they have to travel as well to get here. You know, and what's Coach Bowles' teams, how have they done against after a bye?
I think they've lost once.
Not bad.
They've won 10 straight, I believe. The other part of this to factor in is a lot of these FCS programs have played 12 games this season instead of just 11. So they're talking about 12 games with 1 bye week sandwiched in there, and then if you have to go on the road and play again, and then, you know, if you win, come here, that's beyond a challenge. I mean, you're talking about your 14th game with very little of a break to come in here and face a team like North Dakota State who goes as deep as anybody. Derek Lang tripped up a little bit there in the backfield, kept his feet and picked up 3 up to the 39. Ticking down towards 5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Coach Bull 5 minutes away from that 100th career victory. Never been done here at North Dakota State. Became the all-time winningest coach a couple of months ago in program history. And there's Morlock again. Nice little burst through the hole. Picks up 4 up to the 44.
Stop on the play by number 28, John Westbrook. He's a 3rd and 2 for the Herd.
Couple extra yards after the first contact.
Seeing some
not unusual with Chase, is it, Kevin?
Some substitutions too with Andrew Knack. There's another senior that rarely sees the field, has stuck through the program as a walk-on, and here he is as a senior getting a chance to play in his final regular season game. But when you talk to the coaches, he's been a valuable guy on scout throughout his career here. Bonnet makes another catch. First down.
You know, to follow up on that point, in talking with Chase, it's funny how, you know, Chase Morlock, you know, he came into our program at Moorhead High School as a sophomore, played immediately, and had all kinds of great success. But it's been funny to listen to him talk about how important scout teams are. And not that he didn't appreciate those guys in high school, but now when you are the scout team guy and you're starting to see, and you talked about it earlier on, hey, you know what, he gave a great look because he can replicate what the South Dakota running back looks like. But now I think he's finding out how important that scout team look is. And I think that's when, you know, your program gets to where Joe Glenn wants it to be, is when your scout teams are given as good a looks, if not better, than what you're seeing on Saturday afternoons or Saturday evenings.
Well, that's what Wentz did the last 2 years. You know, that was his job. Or previous, you know, as his redshirt year and then his freshman year. I mean, his job was to run that scout team and get that defense ready.
Morlock picks up 4 more. Dylan Dunn also in the game, the Fargo Shanley product. Walked on here. Zach Johnson, a guy you know something about from Fargo South, also getting a chance to play in the game. Transferred here from Valley City State.
You know what, Zach, and talking with him a lot, you know what, he's just been a Bison fan at heart forever. And he liked his time at Valley City State and certainly appreciated the success he had there, but he just always wanted to know, I want to give this a shot. And you know what, why would you want to take that away from a kid? It's his dream to play for North Dakota State. He's as much of a team guy as there is. He's excited to be a part of the national championship teams. It's a great opportunity for him to showcase what he's gone through on those scout teams like we've talked about, and a lot of these guys.
There's a look at number 68, Zach Johnson. Kerry Woods making the reception, his third of the day. Landon Leckler also getting a chance to peek at Justin Arp, a redshirt freshman from Cogswell, North Dakota. Played his high school ball at Sargent Central. Warlock stacked up that time at the line.
I don't know if we mentioned Jack Plankers, but he's out there too as well.
I believe that is Derek McGinnis, the redshirt freshman from Crete, Nebraska, also in the game at quarterback. As Morlock heads to the sidelines. D. Gray, number 21, a wide receiver. Redshirt freshman from Aurora, Illinois.
Well, you talk about scout teams, and that's been his job most of the year too. Run that scout.
There's the first carry for Darius Anderson, a redshirt sophomore, another transfer from Valley City State, originally from Hawaii.
Well, Kevin, I know you appreciate that from the high school level. How hard, just how hard it is to try to get sometimes your scout team to give your first team defense the look it needs. At times, it's almost comical on the high school setting, but I mean that translates into you don't have time to mess around here. On the Division I level, you have to have kids that can do it.
And it's so serious that, and I don't know if everybody out there understands that these guys watch football, watch game tape of what South Dakota does on offense so that they can replicate it, so they know how to line up, they know how the stances are, they know where the plays are supposed to hit. That's the biggest difference is high school football, you just get looked at a card.
Yep.
Okay, these guys are studying it. There's Mondays where there's coaches that are just in charge of getting the scout team ready to play. And those coaches have as huge a job as any, because I tell you what, college coaches don't like when they have to run a formation again or run a play again because it doesn't look the way it's supposed to look.
48 seconds to go as South Dakota recovers a Darius Anderson fumble. We'll be back with the conclusion after this timeout. Today's game brought to you in high definition by the North Dakota Corn Growers, who invite you to try the new E15, America's most tested fuel, trusted by NASCAR for over 4 million miles. More at ndcorn.org. 48 seconds to go as Earl will bring the South Dakota offense back out and hand it off to Vandermotten, who's met at the line of scrimmage by Stumpf. Makes a nice play, no gain. And that might be the final play. Well, actually, it'll be very close to being the final play of the game. 40 on the play clock, 41 on the game clock.
Not sure why. Well,
they
somebody
stopped
had
the
a
clock.
helmet that, yeah, but shouldn't they reset it and then start the clock again? It'll start eventually. Stay patient.
Vandermotten again squeaks through a hole.
Stumpf and Rogers
making the tackle on what probably will be the last play of the game as we tick down towards 20 seconds. And North Dakota State in the last 8 quarters against South Dakota, dating back to last year and this year, have outscored 96-0. Two Lincoln, Nebraska natives will hug at midfield as Joe Glenn and Craig Bull embrace. And despite the 42-0 loss, Glenn still in good spirits as his Coyotes finish the season 4-8. The Bison finish 11-0. And out comes the Missouri Valley Football Conference Championship Trophy. Jamal is with head coach Craig Bull.
Coach, first undefeated regular season for NDSU since 1990, and of course you cap it off with a Missouri Valley title. What does that mean to you and your crew?
Well, it's hard to do, and we're really pleased with how our guys came out. They were very focused. This is a good football team. They're getting better. We caught them right. I'm really pleased and proud of our guys, and we got to keep moving on, but we'll enjoy tonight.
I know you got the 24-hour rule with most wins, but your players get a chance to actually celebrate with the conference trophy, something they haven't been able to do before. I think that's a special moment for them.
It is certainly special, and you know, we've earned a bye, and we'll take a little time off, and we're going to enjoy this trophy. These are hard to get.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Yep. Guys, he said it that the Bison will now enjoy their Missouri Valley outright championship after a perfect regular season.
Thank you, Jamal, and congratulations to Coach Craig Bull on his 100th victory here at North Dakota State. Quite a milestone for a guy that came over 11 years ago as this program was going through a transition from Division II to Division I. And that guy's had something to do with it too. Gene Taylor was the guy that hired Coach Bull.
And stuck with him. Because there was a time where things weren't the best.
There's a look at Sam O'Jury. Big day for O'Jury, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he goes over 1,000 for the season.
Bison Nation, please direct your attention to midfield for a special presentation.
And Gene Taylor